So we are here with IFCO-TV in the Berkshire event. Is everybody having a great weekend? This has truly been an inspirational time. For those of you that are watching this via IFCO-TV, make your plans to be here next year. It was truly an inspirational, motivational event for the weekend. One of the most congruent chiropractic programs that I think we've ever had. The Mass Alliance for Chiropractic Philosophy has been doing philosophy nights in Massachusetts since the 1980s. It has, since 1991, been meeting at my home office that I practice with my wonderful and beautiful bride, Patty Giuliano. We have a home office practice and have been hosts for the Mass Alliance for Chiropractic Philosophy since 1991. 25 years? Boy, it's our 25th year. Wow. And I believe this is an accurate statement. It is the longest continuously running philosophy group in the world. And once a month, we have had a program every second Saturday of the month. This year, when Dr. Scott Garber chose to do the Berkshire event the same weekend, it wasn't his choice, it was the only weekend that was free at the hotel or at the resort, we opted to have it be the first time that we didn't do it in Westwood, and we're actually doing it here in the Berkshires. So as part of our event, and before we have dinner here, we had the gracious opportunity to be able to interview Dr. Irene Gold, who is not a stranger to anyone. Irene has been running the National Board Reviews for how long?
41 years.
41 years. Unbelievable. And I know what I'm about to say is probably the most accurate statement that has been said all weekend. There are more chiropractors practicing today around the world due to the efforts of this woman more than any other single human being alive.
Yes.
I had the joy of meeting Irene when I was a student in Davenport, Iowa in 1981 actually was I started taking my national boards. And how could you not fall in love with her? She comes and she says, "Peter, you're gonna help me with these national boards? You're gonna pass?" And it was a love affair that began then. The first time that she meets my wife, Dr. Patty Giuliano, I said, "What did you think of Patty?" She says, "She's too good for you. She's too good for you." So Irene, I've heard you say all weekend that this event was inspirational, motivational for you. What is it you liked about the Berkshire event? That's what they can hear you.
Oh, I think that you had a fabulous group of speakers. I'm very impressed with all the women who spoke here. There's more women here than any other event that I've seen. So, and of course the message is spectacular.
So what about the message made it spectacular?
I feel for the first time in a very long time that there is promise for the future. And truthfully, I didn't have that before I came. I did not. Seeing these people making their commitment, getting up and understanding the chiropractic principle and wanting it to go on, and were willing to make sacrifices to do it. I hadn't seen that for a long time. I hadn't.
So Irene, in your experience in the chiropractic profession, what has happened that you feel as though has led it in the wrong path? Well, your perceptions, frankly, what do you think has happened? Why chiropractic has strayed away from being anchored to the philosophy and the ideals that built this profession?
I think in order to understand that, you have to go back to the 1970s, before Sherman opened up. And I thought that the profession was fairly well united at the time. I thought we had a common goal at the time. And then the CCE came along. And the CCE came along and divided the profession and asked the schools to sign up with them. And we began to see Palmer College and Logan College and Cleveland College all go in that direction. And it became very, very important to us that chiropractic survive for the future. And that's why Sherman College was even thought about. We would never even considered Sherman College at that time. So that's what happened. And then as we went into the whole ACA thing, and we got into all of the mixing stuff and everything that happened there, all of the schools changed. Every single school has changed from the first time that it opened. Sherman College has changed. We thought we were going to have.
Hold it close to your mouth.
Oh, okay. Now you got me lost about where I was.
Sherman College.
Yeah, Sherman College. Okay. we gave up everything to start Sherman College. We had a great group of people there. We had everything going for us. But I think over the years, this is what happened. And people lost their way. They lost their way in chiropractic, and it became more important, I think, to become part of the medical profession. Truthfully, we saw this happening just before Sherman started. As soon as they took CCE on the map, we saw this whole chiropractic profession going in a medical direction, and it was going there very fast. It picked up momentum, I think, in the last 20 years. It picked up momentum when Pennsylvania Straight closed down and everything. Just politics and that kind of stuff.
Irene, let's talk a little bit about when Sherman College began. It began because Tom Gilardi wanted to ensure that upper cervical specific chiropractic adjustments could continue. He then recruited you and Reggie to come down to the school.
Now he recruited Reggie.
Oh, he recruited Reggie to come down to the school. Oh, you didn't want to go to Sherman.
I was in school. I was a student at New York School. I had another year to go, and Tom Gilardi shows up and he says he wants to start a new school. So he knows nobody knows him at that time. Nobody knew who he was, and everybody knew Reggie at the time because he had been doing all these seminars all over the country. So he recruited him to do recruiting for the school, and so we picked up lots and lots of students. We didn't know he was going to be there. He just showed up one day thinking that we're going to talk about recruitment. He showed up at my house with a whole bunch of other guys. And they said, well, should I tell you the story of what happened? Okay. So we thought he was coming just to talk about all the things that we were going to do for Sherman College, how we were going to set up the curriculum. We thought that's what he was talking about. So now don't forget, I'm a student in New York at the Columbia Institute of Chiropractic. And so we decided to take him out to dinner. And the place was about 10 minutes away. And there were five of us. So I took 2 bottles of wine, and we figured that would be nice, a nice Italian restaurant that we went to. So we get in the car. I don't think we're 2 minutes out of the driveway. And he says, we really didn't come here to talk about anything except one thing. We want you to sell your practice, and we want you to move to Spartanburg, South Carolina, and be part of the school. I'm driving the car, all right? I'm driving the car. Does anybody ask me my opinion? You think anybody says anything? So we get to the place. By the time we get to the place, they're talking about when he's going to leave, what he's going to do there, where he's going to live, all this, and I'm sitting there with the 2 bottles of wine. And I find out these guys are all teetotalers. No, nobody drinks wine. So when I finish the second bottle of wine, we get to go home, and they let me drive. I couldn't believe it. They let me drive home. And that's how it all happened. And then the next thing I knew, he was invited Ernie Landy in to come and take over the office. When I hadn't sold my house, I moved in with a friend of mine for another year until I finished school. I thought I might, I said, this is my opportunity. I'll just go out to Davenport, Iowa and finish out there. When I went to talk to Dr. Frogley out there, he said, you can come, but you got to spend a year and a half here. That's 6 months longer. I'm not going to spend a day longer in school. So I stayed on for the year, and then after it was all over, I joined the Sherman faculty. That's what happened.
What did you teach at Sherman?
I started to teach, I taught splanknology. It's not even a course that's taught anymore. Anatomy, physiology. I helped in the technique department, upper cervical technique, because we were all upper cervical technique at that time. And then I went on to teach pathology, diagnosis. I mean, whatever course was was up for grabs. I was a teacher. That's what happened.
So Irene, while you were teaching at Sherman, isn't that when you started Irene Gold Associates?
Yeah. We were, I guess I was maybe a year into the school, and I guess it was 1 year. And another teacher came to me and he said, look, you and I are the two best teachers in this school. We need to have these people pass this board. Let's put on a review class. You teach 3 classes, I'll teach 3 classes. We'll hold it over 6 weekends, and we'll get these people through the board. So that's what we did. When the scores came in, 53 people took the class with us, 3 passed. My first class, that's the first class we took. Imagine, 3 passed that test. But I figured out what we did wrong. I corrected it. 6 months later, I had 186 people take the class, and 3 of them failed. And from there on in, Sherman became the highest rated college academically for national boards in the entire time that I stayed there. There were people flying in. They were flying in from all over the United States. Well, Life College was opened at that time, so I had all the D students, all the students that couldn't make it no matter what. 20 of them. They came up to Spartanburg, South Carolina. They lived in my house. They brought their mattresses and everything, stayed in my house, cooked the dinners and everything the whole time we were there, and they got the best scores out of the whole school. So I knew I was on the right track. But I'll tell you what, I mean, when it was going to be national boards twice a year. I was going to teach national boards twice a year. When I left Sherman in a couple of years there, I figured, I'll teach this board for twice a year. I spend the rest of the time on the French Riviera having a good time. You know, I never got there. You know what I mean?
So Irene, what was it that made Irene Gold Associates and the program that you were teaching so successful?
Well, what happened was, when I left Sherman in 1978, I went to teach at Penn State in Pennsylvania. And I continued on because the fee they were paying me for teaching at the school, I couldn't do anything I couldn't pay my expenses with that because it was nothing. You know what I mean? We were working for nothing. So I said I had to make some money. So I went out and I started teaching in all the other places. Palmer College called me up to come, New York College called me up, Life College called me up to come, and so I went to all of these different places and started doing that program. Then the next thing I know, some guy from Australia calls me up, and he says, I've taken the California board twice, and I failed the test, and I want to get a license. He said, I can't pass the basic science, and they taught the basic science. They gave a basic science examination, which was an old national board test. So I said to him, okay, you get me 10 people, and here's the price. I gave him a price, 10 people, and I'll come out and teach you for 10 days and get you ready to pass the California basic science test. So 5 days before I'm about to leave, he calls me up and he says, I only got 3 people. He said, but we'll pay for 10 because the other 2 failed us 6 times and somebody else failed it 8 times. This is our last shot to get through, so we'll pay you for the 10. I said, I don't do business that way. I'm coming for you 3 people. I don't care what. I get out there, 17 people show up. 17 people. One guy, I'll never forget this guy. He says, I've taken this test 16 times. That's what he said. 16 times. I've never passed this test. And I'm coming here and I'm going to pay you this money. I think it's a ripoff. I really don't think you're worth this money, but I'll come. I said, oh no. There's the door. I don't need that attitude sitting in my class. You're out of here. I don't need it because I was going for 3 people. What the heck did I care? That was 17. Every single one of them passed the test. Every single one. You know how? We started out the first day 8 to 5. Second day we went 8 to 6. Third day we went 8 to 8. By the time we finished, we were going from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and nobody left that room the entire time. Because for the first time, they understood concepts they never understood in class. Those guys taught me how to be a teacher. That's what I got a heck of a lot more out of them than ever got out of me. It was the most incredible experience. And some of you know who this Australian guy, he's not an Australian guy, he's a Brooklyn guy that went to Australia. And it was Bernie Diskin, and some of you may know that name, Bernie Diskin. He's the one who started me on state boards. At the time, Chris Kent was working with me. And so he would be teaching. Then after they passed the basic science, they said, okay, now teach us the clinical science. We never did that before. But Chris was an excellent teacher in X-ray. So he did all the X-ray stuff, and I did all the clinical stuff, and we eventually got all those guys through the test. So that was, and then the next thing I know, I was doing every state in the country. I was in every state, you name it, we were doing it. And the fun for me is, I mean, I don't need you guys who are brilliant, who can pass anything on your own. You're not, and that doesn't make me happy. What makes me happy is the guy who doesn't stand a hope in hell of passing that test. And you can take him and change his attitude to make him think that he can pass. And because he thinks he can pass, he works so much harder and gets through that test. That's the thrill. I can't even retire because I don't know what I would do. These people, I mean, they're coming to my house now, and it's really fun to do. I wouldn't do it unless it was fun. I certainly, you don't do this stuff for the money. I never did it for money. It never mattered to me, but it was great. It was just great. Been all right, great. Oh, but wait a second. That's not what I planned to do, all right? I went to chiropractic college to go into practice like you guys went into practice. It just never happened for me. I went to New York school when New York school I couldn't get a license in New York. So even if I graduated from Columbia Institute of Chiropractic, when I graduated, I could not practice in Reggie's office. I couldn't do that. And fortunately for us, we had a house right on the border between Spring Valley and the next town over was Montvale, New Jersey. So we figured we'd buy a piece of land, half in New York, half in New Jersey, and we could be in that same place. But it just never happened. One year, as I say, I got called down and I went down and ended up as a teacher. But I want to let you know, my background is a teacher. I have a master's degree in teaching. I have a bachelor's from Columbia University. I didn't go to some just ordinary junior college. I have a bachelor's, and all of when I tell these people, the different presidents of the college, they say, "Oh, we really would like to have somebody from Columbia. This is really a big deal." Anyway, it worked out for me.
So, didn't they want you to teach in chiropractic school when you were in chiropractic school?
Oh, when I was in New York, I was a terrible student. Terrible. I mean, Dr. Napolitano called me down to his office and says, "Why don't you leave this place? You're so unhappy. You're making this whole place miserable while you're here. And why don't you just get out of here? Why don't you just transfer to another school?" Because I was a good student, but I didn't let these teachers live. They said the wrong thing. I was down their throat. You know what I mean? This is. So I don't know. It was. Where was I on that?
Yeah, I asked you if they asked you to teach.
Oh yeah, that. So I went down and knocked him. He called me into the office. He told me to leave the school, and I said I tried to leave, but it's going to take me a year and a half, Palmer. I can't go. You're going to be stuck with me. He says, "Okay, if that's the case, how about you teach the class? Teach he gave me 2 classes. Public health, which was my major, and obstetrics. Those are the 2 things he asked me to teach. So I taught those 2 classes. And you know what he did? I had a master's degree in education. All the other teachers in the school were only chiropractors. He gave me more money because I had a master's degree. That's how much they thought about chiropractic. If they got $3, I got 5. You know, I mean, I just want to let you know how much. But you know what the tuition was when I went to school? $430 a trimester. A trimester. That's what we. And it went up to $650 by the time we graduated. But I did.
So can I tell him a national board story?
Which one?
Okay. Well, Irene asked me to help her with one of her California board reviews. Shortly after I graduated, I walk in the room. There might maybe 25 people in the room. I walk in the room. I come in from my plane. She says, "Peter, this is the most homogeneous group of derelicts I have ever had, and they're gonna pass." The amount of, I mean, she told you the amount of hours that she worked with that first California class. She was working 8 till 10 every day with them. But the most impressive thing was the days of the test. We would meet outside the testing facility at 4 in the morning. And we're out there with flashlights on the top of her car, and she's grilling them with questions till they take the test at 9 o'clock. I mean, just pounding it into them. They're walking out of the test saying, "Irene, I got to the question. I knew the answer before I finished reading the question. I go A, D, C, A." So Irene, what was the most memorable experience that you had teaching National Board? In all the years that you've been teaching, well, what sticks out as the most significant memory that you have from that? Is there one?
Significant memory. I mean, there were so many memorable. There's too many. I mean, I can't think of anything. I can't think of one. I mean, everything is different. Every program I had was different. Every class was different. Every student I had was. You walk into your office, every patient you have is different. You talk to every patient the same way. You treat them the same. No, but so you have to learn how to involve a student, how to get the most out of them, how to then to force them to get the most out of themselves. So I do it on an individual basis. I don't have an individual.
Can we get personal? Well, let's talk. And I don't know if everybody here has heard the story, or we need to really acknowledge Scott Garber. He gave every member that came to the Berkshire event a copy of your book, Gold. Yes. Did y'all get the book? Yeah. So big kudos to Scott Garber for doing that. Can we talk a little bit about how you and Reggie met and got together?
Oh yeah, okay. I had just finished my year at the University of Pennsylvania. I was working on my degree in public health at the time, and I came back to my hometown, Spring Valley, New York, and all of my friends are gone. They're married. There's nobody around, and I was looking for some way to at least have a social event so you can get together with people. Reggie at the time drove the family lived in New Jersey. He couldn't get a license in New Jersey because Palmer was not recognized in New Jersey when he graduated. It was about 5 years there that Palmer wasn't recognized. So he came to New York. He came to Spring Valley, to my town, and his car broke down in my town. That's how we got there. And it was the high holy days for the Jewish community, and he went to the local synagogue, and there was another guy in town, he and this other, and he said, we're new in town, we don't know anybody, is there any youth group here? Said, no, and the rabbi said, no, but here's all the names of the people in the community, why don't you just invite them all up and go ahead and you can have the temple here for your meeting. So a friend of mine and I, we went there. We sat there, and then Reggie was the speaker. He gave the whole introduction to everything, called himself doctor, and he did everything. And I said to my friend, I'm going for that one. And she said, I'm going for that one. She said, okay. We took our break. We made our moves, right? We introduced ourselves to the people. She got married 6 months before I did. So no problem. He came to my town. I know everybody in this town, and he knows nobody. I'm perfect. Perfect spot. I thought it was made in heaven, right?
So was it love at first sight?
Maybe. Not for him. No, he came from Davenport. He left his girlfriends in Davenport. You know, no, he was. We had been going out for a while, and the old girlfriend called up and said, "I want to come and see you." He doesn't have a car. He has to use my car. But I said, "You're not getting my car for that." So he said, "Look, I have to see her." And I said, "No problem. You can go see her." And I said to my sister, "I'm leaving town. I'm not even telling you where I am." Okay? So I came back Sunday night. My sister says, "Reggie's been calling every 15 minutes looking for you." So I knew I had it. You know, you had to play the game right. You know what I mean? Then he says, "Well, you know, we should just live together." Are you kidding me? I wasn't going to live with some guy without being married. He said, "You don't want to get married? The heck with you." And I told him this. "Look, I'm going to give you 6 months because I'm going into the Navy. I'm going in as a second lieutenant because I had my nursing degree, my bachelor's degree at that time." I said, "You won't ever see me again. I'm just letting you know that right now. You'll never see me again." He came around, you know.
I love you, Irene. So when you first met Reggie, you didn't know what chiropractic was, did you?
I knew nothing. I was totally sold on medical thinking, medical practice. I didn't have the vaguest idea. I was a public health nurse. I would go into somebody's house. This woman comes to the door. She's got the worst ankylosing spondylitis you ever saw in your life. She's all doubled over. She can't even sit back in the chair to see who I am. I'm there for her medical care. 5 days a week of cortisone injections for 2 full weeks. That's what I gave her. Can you imagine? I get there, they'll get to the last week. Oh, after that, then we do 2 weeks of ACTH to counteract the cortisone. But she said to me while I was there, she said, "I'm thinking about going to a chiropractor." Those quacks? Why would you even think of something like that? I had no idea who she was talking, no clue whatsoever. And then I meet this, and he, you know, he had no money. He had nothing when he first started. He borrowed $700 from another chiropractor to open up his office. So what do you think we did for activity? We went to chiropractors' houses and to talk chiropractic. That's what we did. You know, we never went out to dinner because we'd have no money to pay for dinner. You know what I mean? So I learned all of this chiropractic from that. And then there was no question. I remember the last time I used to have headaches, and I used to take aspirin every day. And we started dating in October. Here it was December, and I'm taking this aspirin every time he sees me. He says, "You take one more aspirin, and we're finished." That was it, the last aspirin I took. 1958, December. Never took another one. So I learned chiropractic from every single household that we went to, for conventions that we went to. We got invited to one time to Brooklyn for Pat Sarasoli. Now, you know Pat Sarasoli. Many of you know Pat Sarasoli. Pat Sarasoli, you don't know him like I know him. Because when I met Pat Sarasoli, he was in Brooklyn in this downstairs in some basement. We had a whole group of people there, and they were doing a debate on chiropractic or neurology. Where do you think Pat Sarasoli was? He was a neurologist. He said chiropractic, he had no use for chiropractic philosophy whatsoever. None whatsoever. And then some years later, his wife died and he changed. And he became philosophically involved. By the way, he taught philosophy at Columbia Institute when I was a student there too. So yeah, so those are kinds of things that we did. But most of the time, you know where else we spent our time, right? In New Hampshire, at a place called Pelham, New Hampshire, where we had chiropractic philosophy meetings. But they weren't like this nice, amiable group that you have here. These were knockdown, drag-out fights about, is this philosophical principle better than that's philosophical? They would tear apart those green books, sentence by sentence. This is what was happening. So I learned chiropractic before I ever went to chiropractic college. I mean, I was a chiropractic student before I became a student of chiropractic.
Okay, Irene, I was hoping you would mention this, but Reggie had to make sure, because his first love was chiropractic before he met you, right? But
He told me right off the bat, chiropractic first. That was it.
But didn't he have to make sure that you knew the philosophy appropriately before he married you?
Well, I had to take the test.
What was the test?
The test. Every definition, I had to write it out, the whole thing. Yeah, this is just a real test, like a final exam, like you guys take the final exam. That's what I took. So I must have passed. What can I tell you?
I'm assuming you passed.
I passed.
With flying colors?
I have no idea. I guess so.
Dr. Frank Hahn just handed me a note. Somebody from IFCO-TV wants to know the story when Tom Gilardi came up to recruit Reggie from Sherman College. Well, you sort of told that story. She already told the story. You missed it, whoever it was.
Yeah. I told you.
Did you ever meet BJ?
Oh, yeah. In 1960, April of 1960, we got married. Our honeymoon was one day in Goshen, New York. That's where we went. It's a nothing place, right? But the reason we did that is because I was going to spend my honeymoon in Davenport, Iowa, at Lyceum. So that's where we went. Lyceum in Davenport, Iowa. We were there for the entire program, and B.J. Palmer was the speaker. He was the speaker. It was the most thrilling event that I had ever been to. The excitement in that tent, and it was a tent. They didn't have buildings there. They put up a tent in where the auditorium presently is in Davenport. They put up a tent, and that's where we had that. It was incredible, really. Yep. So I did meet him.
What did you think of BJ when you met him? Not to hear him speak, but you actually met him and had a conversation with him?
No. There was Lyceum. There were 5,000 chiropractors there. You think he was interested in talking to me?
I would have, Irene. So, Irene, through your experiences at Columbia College, then you met Reggie. You met Reggie. You went to Columbia, started school there. Tom came up, got you to come down to Sherman. What caused you to leave Sherman to go up to Pennsylvania?
Well, I came to Sherman College in October of 1974, and Reggie left Sherman College in March of 1975. There was a big problem politically at the time, and Tom Gilardi was told if Reggie did not leave, they would not get accredited in the state of South Carolina. And there was a whole bunch of things that went along with that. So that had happened. At that time, then he started the Federation of Chiropractic. He put together the FSCO at that time, and then Joe Strauss and a couple of people from Pennsylvania came along and said, "We're going to start a new school in Pennsylvania, and we want you to come up and be president." And that's how that happened. So that's how we happened.
So then you moved up to Pennsylvania, started Pennsylvania College, started training chiropractors at Penn State. Then something else happened, and Reggie started Spinology. You want to talk about that?
Well, what happened was Reggie wanted to run the school with teachers who were committed to chiropractic but would not accept any kind of payment for it, so that we could get this whole thing started. Now, what got him started on that idea was in 1960, when he first got started and was early in practice. Dr. Napolitano invited him to be a teacher, philosophy teacher at the Columbia Institute of Chiropractic. And at that time, that's when Dr. Napolitano was sending him out to do a lot of talks for him, state conventions and stuff like that. But the whole deal was, his teaching was for $1 a year. That's what he accepted, was $1 a year. And he stayed there for 4 years until they fired him from that $1 a year job. Okay, that's what happened. They fired him from the $1 a year job. And that was the best firing they ever did for him. Because what happened was after that, he had to then put his time into his own office. That was in April, let's say April 10th, he left the school. April 30th, we had a layman lecture for the entire office. Every patient had to come. And after that, during the month of May, we signed up, I don't remember the exact number, but 250 new families, not patients, in 1 month. So that was really a nice thing that he did for him, to get rid of him, you know. But they had to get rid of him because they were going to go into more medical things and ACA involvement and stuff like that. That's what happened at the time.
So then Reggie left Penn State, though, as well.
Well, he left Penn State because he wanted to do that one, you know, that payment, and the teachers organized, and they said they didn't want to do that, and they wouldn't stay unless they got paid. So they all left. They left and left us with just a few teachers to run the school at the time. That's what happened. And so I said to Reggie, they don't want us here. We don't need to be here. Let's get out. And so we left. I really had to talk him into it. You know, so that, when we went back in, he resigned. It was in August of 1979, August of 79. And now he had to think about what he's going to do next. And so that's when he came up with the idea. He said, look, chiropractic is going into the medical direction. You want to get licensed in the state of Pennsylvania, you're going to have to do medical stuff. That's the way it is. Let's start a new profession, and let's have something absolutely pure. And that's when spinology started. That's what it was. Now you guys all use the terminology. You don't call yourself, the people that come to your office, patients anymore. You call yourselves practice members. That was Reggie's term for spinology. That's what we call them, practice members. And then I always hear this all over the place, and I bet many of the people who use that terminology never knew where it came from, but that's where it came from.
Reggie, I think many people here I know have heard Reggie, but was, aside from being an amazing speaker and probably the best chiropractic philosopher that has ever lived, he was very innovative. He developed technique, he developed a terminology, he developed a business structure in spinology that still is extremely unique.
Yeah, that's true. And there is a spinology school in Spain at the present time, and there's also one in Ireland. So yeah.
To live on beyond.
Yeah, so, and they have, even on, they see them on Facebook, Spinology Forever, they call themselves, so, yeah.
Frank, what's the attendance like on IFCO-TV? Do we have a couple people watching?
Yes,
quite a few out there. Any questions that they have for?
Well, they asked, what decade would you consider to be the best in the profession? And then do you see any
What
decade?
What decade was the best decade of the profession?
In your experience, and then do you see any resurgence happening?
Do you see a resurgence happening?
I would say probably the 1920s, when B.J. Palmer came out with the idea of upper cervical. That's what I would say. And I don't think you're ever going back there again. And I told you the change took place in the 1970s. We began to see all of the changes that occurred after that. But I don't know. I mean, after this weekend, I'm hopeful. And you got a whole bunch of young people here. You got people who want to do something. I said, you know, all I can do is financially support you, but you can go ahead and do that. All right?
Is there anybody here that has a question for Irene that we haven't covered yet? So anybody? About? Tell the story about the woman on the beach.
Oh, the woman on the beach, yeah. There was a student from California. graduate of Cleveland College, and there was a student from Sherman College. The guy came from California, the woman came from Sherman. And they both were on vacation in Florida at the same time, both of them. And this guy came with his family, so his father went to him and said, listen, there's a really nice lady out on the beach. You should go introduce yourself to her. So he goes ahead and introduces himself and said, you know, what do you do for a living? I'm a chiropractor. Yeah. I'm a chiropractor. And they didn't believe they were chiropractors. So he said to him, she said, okay, if you're really a chiropractor, I want you to say something that only a chiropractor would know. And you know what he said? Irene Gold. And they got married and divorced.
So Irene, I don't know if everyone knows, but Reggie loved to travel. He loved to travel around the world. And you were usually there with him in most of his travels. No? Never, come on.
What are you talking
You went with him.
No, I did not. He went to Africa 5 times. He went to Europe 10. I didn't travel with him. I had my own profession. Remember that? I worked as a nurse. I was in nursing for all of those years. I didn't go to chiropractic college until we had been married for 11 years. Yeah. I was a chiropractic student for 13 years before I went to chiropractic college. You want to know how I got there?
Go ahead.
1972. It was a DE meeting down in Atlanta, Georgia. Reggie was a regular speaker on the program. It was not 72, sorry, it was 71. It was April, 71. And he got up in front of this audience and then he messed up. Somebody was trying to sell something that wasn't chiropractic and he put them down. And other things were going on that was not chiropractic and he would let them know, that's not chiropractic, you shouldn't even be in this seminar, and it wasn't his seminar. So that was part of it. Woman gets up, 18 years of age, from Michigan, and she said, I've been my family is chiropractor. I'm getting out of high school now, and you only need high school to get into chiropractic college at the time. I said, and I'm going to commit my entire life to chiropractic. She got up in front of the whole group and said this. I'm twice her age, and she gets up and makes this statement. And I made the decision on the way home in the plane, I'm going to school. That woman made the decision for me. I said, this was it. I mean, it was unbelievable.
You know who it is?
Yeah, her name is Elwert, part of the Elwertowski family up in Michigan. And I have since had her daughter in my class. And, oh, yeah. So it's kind of, yeah, you see, I see a lot of daughters, granddaughters. Now I'm getting the grandchildren in, you know. If I live to 130, or maybe the great-grandchildren will come in too, you know.
So Irene, if a student comes up to you and they said, Irene, what do I need to do to be successful in a straight chiropractor, successful in practice? What would you tell them?
I think you got to go to a chiropractic college that teaches you the principles of chiropractic, and I think you got to hang out with these people right here. That's what you got to do. You hang out with these people right here to make it all happen, and then be willing to work. Because I can't imagine. I remember years ago, some guy came up to me and he says, how come you're so successful? Because I work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Are you kidding me? That's all I ever do. But you have to put the time in. You have to put the time in, or it doesn't work.
Irene, I'm not sure if the group that's listening or the group here knows, but you and Reggie have given lots of money back to the profession, into the millions of dollars. Sherman College wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for you. New Zealand College wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for you. What organizations, yes, clearly the Berkshire event, are there organizations and schools that you feel need to be supported?
Oh, well, I support Matt McCoy's research thing. That's. Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, the last time last year when I saw him, I said, Matt, how come you didn't ask me for any money? I mean, I was really. He gets asking everybody else. You know what I mean? So.
I'll ask you for money.
It has to be a chiropractic thing. I don't give to the Cancer Society or to the Rheumatoid Foundation. I don't give for any of them. It has to be a chiropractic event, or I don't want anything to do with it. One of the reasons, you know, the very first speaker that came here said that, asked the question, why are you here, right? He asked that question of everybody, and he thought we would forget that question. But I didn't forget that question. I know exactly why I'm here. Because this is my chiropractic family. Because these are the people who kept Reggie alive when he was supposed to die 5 days later. This was the people, you were the people who sent those emails, who came to the house and adjusted him, who made the phone calls, who did all of that. So I'm here to thank you for what you did.
It doesn't get better than that, does it? Anybody have any questions for Irene?
I think we should go eat.
Okay. Irene said, go eat, we go eat. Irene, I think on behalf of this group, the IFCO, Scott Garber, and the entire chiropractic profession, thank you for, number one, marrying Reggie. Number two, staying committed to this profession and keeping the light alive. I know I will say I would not be the chiropractor I am today if it wasn't for Reggie and Irene Gold. And I think many people in this room would say the exact same thing. Thank you. And the words of Irene Gold, go eat. Oh. And Irene, this is from the what's that? One more thing. The Massachusetts Alliance for Chiropractic Philosophy to empower. It gives this award to empower, perpetuate, and preserve our unique vitalistic philosophy through a loving and supportive community of subluxation-centered chiropractor. Acknowledges Irene Gold, DC. The chiropractors you touch are better able to serve humanity. Thank you so much, Irene. You're the best. Thank you, everybody. And Irene, are we going to hear you sing karaoke tonight?
If you sing my song. You know, I'm not singing one of those songs I never heard before.
Okay, we'll make sure that they sing your song.
Yeah, I gotta sing my song.
Okay, well, hold on 1 second. After dinner? Oh, yes. Okay, everybody here at IFCO-TV, you guys are welcome to do this as well. After dinner tonight, MACP will continue to have their fellowship and fun upstairs in room 204. That's Patty and my room. We have hors d'oeuvres, we have booze, we got all the fun you could possibly imagine. Well, mostly. We'll see you tonight.
Liam, we are live.
Oh,
Yeah, we're live.
Okay.
Hey.
Fantastic. I got to tell you, that was priceless. You know what they say, Frank? For everything
Absolutely.
else, there's MasterCard.
Yes.
I got to tell you, what a weekend we've just had here at the beautiful Berkshire Philosophy Event in the Berkshire Mountains of Massachusetts here in the United States of America in the Northeast. Frank,
Right.
Thursday we broadcasted all day, 8
All
hours.
day.
What delivered tremendous content. Friday we had Green Book Study.
Right.
All right, and Saturday, today we had Green Book Study again.
Yep.
And then in the evening, Dr. Irene Gold, and we just got a star-studded lineup
Oh,
of
my
people.
goodness.
You know what? You know what it is? What we saw was phenomenal. There's Brazil in the back. What we saw was phenomenal, but what you didn't see on IFCO television was even better. And that was,
Oh, my
there's no
goodness,
substitute for being at this event. Scott Garber's event, by the way, is 50% sold out. I also want to let you know that you, the viewer, made history this weekend. You know why that is, Frank?
Why is that, Liam?
We have the totals. 15,280 people signed in and watched the program during the course of the weekend. So it makes it the largest chiropractic event in history. And that was just absolutely phenomenal. And I got to tell you, I want to thank all the people that joined us here on the Chiro chat box, asking questions and sending comments.
So many people were out there.
That's right. Also, by the way, I do want to mention, if you're watching still right now, please screenshot this and tell us where you're watching the program from. We had people from all over the world joining us.
Yeah. You guys did great asking questions all weekend long for the Green Book studies with Irene. I hope we got to everybody. That was our main objective, to just provide more value for you guys.
So I got to tell you, the folks that are interested in, again, this was a sold-out event. The folks that are interested in signing up live for this event next year need to go to tickevent.com. Is that right?
That's
www.tickevent.com.
And it's going to be sold out. Irene, come on over on this side.
Yeah, come on this side. You're better looking over here.
Yeah.
Come on in on the center.
There she is. Hey.
You know, and this is.
Go ahead.
This is why you should be at this event. I mean, that was a phenomenal presentation. How did you feel being interviewed by one of the great interviewers, Dr. Peter Kevorkian?
Oh, he's done this before with me, and he does a really well. You did a great job with me too
well,
on
thank
the
you.
telephone.
Thanks.
When we did that interview for
Sherman Connect call. Yeah. Thank you. Well, Irene, I guess the weekend was an absolute smash hit. Would you say?
Oh my goodness! Anybody who wasn't here really missed us. Really missed out.
Speakers were phenomenal, but also the other thing, Irene, which was phenomenal, is that $40,000 were donated to chiropractic research, Dr. Matt McCoy's Foundation for Vertebral Subluxation Research.
And I haven't put my check in yet.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so $1,040,000. That's fantastic news. I got to tell you. And Irene, thank you so much for being here, and also for all your support of the chiropractic profession.
There's a famous picture that went around with Peter Kevorkian, and it was Patty Giuliano and Bryn Gillo gave him a nice big kiss, so he was in the middle. Would you mind if we copy that, but with you?
All right.
All right, very
Come
nice.
on, yep. So you stay here, Liam and I.
Okay.
All right,
No,
here we
everybody
go.
get your screenshots
Get your
ready.
screenshot ready.
We'll give you one moment. Come on.
And I want to get a selfie of it, if you don't mind. I normally, Irene, as you know, I normally don't take selfies, but on this this opportunity,
This is the prince of
I might
selfies.
actually take a selfie.
Wait, first this one.
All right, so one like this. All right, and then we'll do the.
Ready?
Ready?
Lean in. All right. Thank you so
You
much.
did it. Thanks, Irene.
All right. Guys.
Dr. Irene Gold, thank you. Dr. Judy Campanelli, of course. Dr. Irene Gold, tremendous powerhouse in the chiropractic profession. This is one of the great things about showing up to these type of events, right? I mean, she's just a powerhouse of information.
Hey,
wow,
there she is. All right.
Miss
You
America.
rocked it this weekend.
Hey, how you doing?
Awesome. This was the most amazing weekend. If you were not here, you need to be here next year.
I tell you,
Absolutely.
you know what
Can't put it into words.
they missed. They did they watch? Yeah, they watched
they
your
had
presentation.
it was a break.
Your presentation was phenomenal. I loved it with the
concussions.
effect on the concussions.
Yep.
I
Explains
didn't
you,
know.
doesn't it?
Yes.
Sorry.
Now I know why I don't know what I know. I don't know.
And you guys got that as a bonus out there.
Yes.
The rest of the room, we thought. When did you actually know you were going to do this?
Oh, like a week and a half ago.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
you only had a
last
week.
minute.
Yeah.
Let me
Oh, my
ask you,
goodness.
highlights for the weekend?
Yeah.
Well, you, of course.
Well, thank you for
But
saying
did a
that.
really,
good job.
Yes.
this with Irene.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and also, of course, we raised $40,000 for the Foundation of Vertebral Subluxation Research.
Irene just said that, and that's before she put in her check.
Right, and so it should be $1,040,000 at that point.
Oh my goodness.
I got to tell you, it's been a great pleasure having you guys here this weekend.
Yeah.
Thanks to the viewers that are watching as well at home. We certainly appreciate all the screenshots you took and posting where you're broadcasting from and sharing this powerful message of IFCO television. I tell you, together we're going to bring this life-transforming message of chiropractic to the world. And you know, it takes more than just one or two people, and we're leveraging the technology to make that happen. We are getting set up for the after party. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Now, this
Are
is
you
probably
attending the after party?
Yeah, I'm hungry. Let's go eat.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is one of the greatest after parties in the history of all seminars. But before we do that, let's wrap things up and give people a reminder of how they could sign up to be live at this event.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm going to go eat.
All right, we appreciate
we'll
you.
meet you there. Save us the plate.
www.tickevent.com. All right, great. And so I just want to sign off by saying thank you to Dr. Scott Garber for hosting this historic event, really 15,280 people watching on IFCO television. the biggest event around the world, Dr. Scott Garber's philosophy event here in the Berkshires. I want to thank Dr. Peter Kevorkian. I want to thank Dr. Dave Tran, Dr. Steve Tullius, Dr. Sean Dill, for helping to make this happen, and of course to you, Dr. Frankie Hahn,
Thank you.
For being not only an excellent co-announcer with me, but also being the technical genius running all these switches and buttons and everything here. You've shown that you're a really great mixer. I can tell you that right now.
I can mix with the best of them.
In the technological sense. But we appreciate you so much. We appreciate the baby in the back as well, Dr. Aaron Gabaya there. And I got to tell you, folks, we appreciate you too for tuning in and watching us and screenshotting and posting where you were watching the program. Yes.
Please share that screen capture with Irene Gold. Post it, tag us. Yeah.
That'll be great. Well, great, Frank.
All right.
So we'll see you all at IFCO Television.
In the books.
Yep, and we'll see you at the end of April, at the end of this month, at Sherman College of Chiropractic in beautiful Spartanburg, South Carolina, in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. This is Dr. Liam Schubel, the Schubelnator, and of course, my good friend, Dr. Frankie Hahn, signing off for IFCO Television. We love you. We appreciate you. Now let's go take over the world with Tick, teaching innate chiropractic.
Ciao, ciao.
Schubelnator out. Ciao, ciao.